Okay, we will start with an evaluation of exercise 2. I have not yet finished checking all your work, although I glossed over them and also selected a few that I can use for the discussion for the evaluation. So in terms of design concepts, I realized that not all of you, in fact, very few, in fact, only a handful wrote a design concept. Uh, I checked the assignment and well, it's not written there, but I did remember mentioning it in the session that you should write the design concept because when I made the new rubric, the very first item there is concept. So um, I need to have a basis. So this one was made by Dagami, and it's one of the examples that I prefer because at least it has the elements that I was looking for. And first is that you have to write down what you want to achieve. In this case, he wants to achieve experience for the users to feel near nature and far from industrialized workplace of the owner. And then how do you want to achieve that? So you have to describe. Okay, I want to achieve this, and this is how I want to do it in terms of design. Okay, and then you also explain afterwards about the function, which he did here. So okay, this is still needs some refinement, but at least it has the elements. When we talk about function, so I got here the the floor plan made by Nathan James Co. For the master's bathroom. This is one solution. The next slide, I will show another possible solution. So the space is divided into two, and then so when you enter, it's a walk-in closet, and then you enter again another space for the toilet and bath. So it's I mentioned in the last session that it is expected to have two lavatories for the master's bathroom because each one, the wife and the husband, will end up using it together because they will be going, say, to work almost together. No? Of course, they have to schedule the use of the shower, but when it comes to rushing the makeup and for the wife and then the guy for to brush his teeth, etc. So uh, they're expected to do that together almost. Um, so what I failed to mention for the past exercises is that the windows and even the doors are actually movable. Okay, and they can also be changed, but along that wall. So if there's a window on that wall, you can move it along that wall, but you cannot remove it. Okay, and then you can change the dimension. You can make it smaller, bigger. You can make it round as long as there's the window there. And I was hoping that someone would ask, and no one did. So in this case, for Nathan, the window could have been just above the water closet, so that the lavatory has all the space for the mirror. Okay. And then correct dimensioning for interior planning. This is correct. When we are doing interior planning, the dimension should be from the face of the walls. Okay, which means you also have to dimension the thickness of the wall. So it's not like planning the whole house in general, where you have to base the dimension from the center of the wall. But when it comes to already space planning inside, like what we're doing, so face to face, no, face of the wall to face of the wall is the proper way to go about it, which is what is doing here correctly. And you need to label some furnishing which are vague. For example, here we know that this is the laboratory, we know that this is water closet, this is the tub, but what is this rectangular thing here? So, so there are many things that we can interpret it unless you write down what it is. Later on, in the perspective, we see that this is actually a bench of sort. No? But then it has to be clear even without looking at the perspective. So the other example is from Jean Golisao. This is an alternate way of approaching the master's TNB. So the division is the other way here. Again, when you enter, so you have um, the master's, the walk-in closet. Then you go further in for the toilet. Um, I would improve this more so that the toilet, so that they share the same size, no? Because I find that the master's, the walk-in closet is a bit cramped, it's a bit small. So maybe the shower is along this wall, and then the lavatory is along this wall here, and then maybe it will save more space. But what I like also in this kind of setup is that there is actually separation between the space, the closet space for the husband and the closet space for the wife. Okay. No, I just remember when I was designing a house in. No, I wasn't designing a house. An architect who's well known in Davao was showing me her house, which she designed, and she was very proud of it. When it comes to the bedroom, she was showing the walk-in closet, and of course, after everything, I asked the obvious question: so where's the closet for the husband? And then she pointed to a small corner. That's for him. That's all for him. So and everything else was for her. Okay, so um, watch out for those ladies because they eat up every space. No. Um, for the common bathroom, the most of the design is has the all the elements in one side. So starting with probably the lavatory, and then beside it is the water closet, and then the shower. Okay, so that's why I show this because it is one of those unusual um, layout, which also works. There's another one. Um, I forgot. I think it was Nathan. This one is Faith Ango, where he had a square toilet shower here and then a corner entrance. Um, by the way, to I failed to mention that in the master's toilet, a bathtub is expected. Okay, aside from having two lavatories, expected to have a bathtub. But here in the common toilet, so it's not needed. And then you only need one lavatory because I saw some with two lavatories, so it's not necessary. Okay, and you can use the space more for something else. I was thinking that another way to improve on it must be to put the lavatory near the door so that you have more space in between. Okay. When it comes to powder room, the best place to put it is this, as suggested by Giselle Seno. Um, a lot of you place the powder room in the kitchen, right beside the master's bedroom, master's toilet and bath. And I was wondering why, because I really mentioned it in the lecture about the powder room that it has to be near the entrance and why. Okay, why does it have to be near the entrance? So if you're the one going out, before you show yourself to the world, you go here and then take a final check whether you look good or whatever. Then, or if you're going in, you're a guest. Before you show yourself to the other guests, you go in. Especially if you have butterflies in your stomach, maybe you're the one presenting, you're going to perform, or etc. Or first time to meet some people or very important. So you go in and then um, there. So you relieve yourself, or you look at the mirror and then try to make sure that everything is neat and tidy. So you do that here. So you do not do that when you're already in the kitchen. And besides, you need a lot of space for the kitchen, and you have some actually wasted space here. So with this, you can actually form now a cove like a foyer, and then you can even cover this part of the hallway, which is the bedroom for the bedrooms. Okay, so in fact, Giselle is the only one who got it right. There are others who placed the toilet powder room here beside the main door, but that's actually eating up the an important space, no, important living space. Okay, so this one by Rona is the for me the best layout for a um, powder room. So you have each picture against the wall. No? What is lacking here is the window. Okay, so if there's no if there's no other if this is are inside the house and you cannot make a window, so you can always put a um, what is this, an exhaust fan, but you can put this right beside the exterior wall, so you can put a window. In terms of drafting, so I like this one. In fact, I had problems with most of your sections because you do not indicate up to what point do you put the tiles. Okay, whether it's only for this or is it the whole wall? Is it everything? When you design the bathroom, it's important even to make sure that the lines go where they should be. Okay, because when you are a tile setter, the first question that a tile setter would ask is that should I start at the when I start at the center, should I start with the center of the tile or the corner of the tile? Okay, so you have to control that. You even indicate it in the floor plan that this is start here, no? Start setting here. So you have later on I can show you probably an example of how that's indicated. So here he showed, or she showed, the the treatment of the wall, um, which is okay. In terms of presentation, so I like the one that Nathan made, where you can actually see both. So here, right now, the mysterious rectangle we can see is a bench. That's not a table, I guess, because it's the height of the chair, the seat of the chair. Um, so this is a good way of showing it. Again, there's a couple of you who made the perspective of bird's eye view. So I mentioned last time that it's not a good approach, and also um, there's some of you who removed the wall, like he removed the wall right in front of us, but then he maintained the cabinet which is facing that wall. So you have an obstruction there, and we even colored it black all, no? So it looks very dirty. This one from Rona, the elevation I showed earlier, so it looks like this. I like the clean lines. Okay, and it's very simple, and then it has a design already. Okay, so let's go directly to the design of kitchen. This will be a very short session, I hope. And this one is made by architect Carmel Lastimoso, but I have to reformat it because I'm already using a particular style, and she's using her style, but the contents came from her. Okay, so what is a kitchen? So it's an area used for cooking and food preparation in a dwelling. So no problem with that. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the kitchen. Now, in the Philippines, and I think I don't know about, I think some of the Asian countries, but definitely here in the Philippines, we have what we call a formal and informal kitchen. Okay. Last time I mentioned to you that the bathroom, the toilet, I mean, used to be outside of the house. It's an outhouse, and that's the same with the kitchen. No, because the problem is really the utilities. So you cannot. So at that time there were no plumbing. You cannot have water inside the house, but outside the house you can have all this pail and whatever. And then also with the kitchen you cannot burn wood inside the house at that time. They find it a bit dangerous until they invented the bangera, as we call it, um, or the pugon, okay, where you can actually do it more safe. And so and then when the Western design came in, so we wanted everything to look Western. So we wanted the kitchen to look like the Western and not our Pogon and Bangera and some other dirty things, because we like to dirty things a lot. So and Filipinos are very fond of getting wet. No? Everything is wet. The floor is wet. The counter is wet, and I don't know why. No, and so we have this very schizophrenic space. No, one side it's dry, it's clean, it's formal, and then you go to the other side, it's dirty, it's informal, and it's all wet. So that's why it's called informal kitchen and wet kitchen. Um, I don't know if you have that in your house, but nearly all the houses is like that. So if someone designs without a dirty kitchen, the owner would probably just make a normally there's a door from the kitchen leading to the back of the property. And normally they would just make a counter, and then that's where they cook. That's where they wash other dishes, etc., etc. So that the kitchen looks very neat from inside, especially if it's an open plan where the kitchen is visible from the dining area. Okay, so in your exercise, you'll be designing both. Mm, there is what we call a kitchen work triangle. It's a concept used to determine efficient kitchen layouts that are both aesthetic and functional. Um, so the shorter the triangle, the more efficient, because each line in the triangle is like a um, the travel distance. Mm. The primary tasks in a home kitchen are carried out between the cooktop, the sink, and the refrigerator. Now, I have to make some correction here. No? You see here the stove, the sink, and the refrigerator, but what you're actually connecting is the food supply, which includes the refrigerator and the pantry, your washing area, which includes the sink and the dishwashers and anything else for washing, and the cooking area, which includes the stove, the oven, and even the food preparation area. Okay, so it's not only the stove, so it's a package. Cooking area, um, supplies area, or storage area, and then the washing area. So please keep that in mind. So there are many kitchen layouts. A lot of you have included that in your assignment, but let's just review. Let's just go over it. The details you have there in your assignments, in your notes. So the L kitchen, so very popular. It's a natural work triangle, and it's typically open. It's using open plans. Okay, so you have probably also the dining table included here, or maybe somewhere a little bit farther. You also have this one is almost like a closed kitchen, because it forms a space on its own, so you can close it if you want. but it can also serve as on open planning. Um, this is when you have a bigger space that you can actually make a little more like a G, no? Or a little more extension here. Normally, again, this can be used in an open space planning where this one serves almost like a counter. Also, the dishwasher is like a counter to the open plan. And of course, if it's a budget kitchen, although I saw a lot of very expensive kitchen, which is just one wall, and sometimes everything is even hidden in that wall. So what you see is just almost like a cabinet or a built-in cabinet. You don't even see the handles, but then you can, when you pull them out, so it's the refrigerator inside, or the you pull out a stove, etc. No? Then you have the galley, which also works very well, but normally this is employed in a in workstations where there's only one person. Um, and then the island. So this is not a very good picture, but the island comes in many forms. Sometimes it is attached, like the G, but then it's instead of a furniture there, it's a table attached to the counter, the rest of the counter, or it's independent island like this. And sometimes in the island you can also put the cooking area there or the washing area, or you can have a different cooking or washing area. If it's washing, sometimes the dish, the it's like you use a bar sink, which is smaller and circular. It's just actually to wash some food, or well, some food which is already prepared. It's not really for washing dishes. So there's another washing area. Um, or it can be blank, nothing. No? If it's a cooking area also at the same time, so it's meant to serve directly the people around that table. And then these chairs normally are high chairs with or without the backrest. So the best type of counter is the one that is high, although there are also um, designs where the high part is the one with the cooking area and the low part is the one with the seating, and they use the ordinary height of the chair. Now, I guess you all have this in your assignment. I have not finished going over all the assignments. I'm sorry, it took me a while. So we have to be very familiar with all the dimensions, especially the um, the access way. Um, I noticed that in the bathroom exercise, there's again that neglect for the allowance. For example, I see that there's a sink and then a bathtub, and then the space between them is lesser than what I showed you, which you also probably had in your assignments. So please avoid that and be mindful of the allowances, no? Especially for access. Here it's 4 feet because aside from walking here, there can be another person here working on the counter or probably putting something in the oven. So there should be enough space for people to move around. So the kitchen is not only for one person working, and sometimes there are more than one, two or three. You have your mom and you assisting, the whole family probably assisting. Okay, so here we have arranged hood, um, but again, maybe you also have that in your research. Okay, so I guess that's the last slide. So I'll talk to you about your next homework. Um, in fact, I just got the notification that it's already posted in Canvas. and I think also in Google Classroom. So for this exercise, the submission will be done in Canvas. So you see that here below. Okay, so we're now transitioning to Canvas. But I will not yet put down the Google Classroom just in case we encounter a problem in the transition. Um, okay, for example, you might have already submitted in Canvas, but for some reason I don't receive it. I can ask you to submit in Google Classroom instead and then just access the file from there. Okay, so design the formal and everyday kitchen of the client. So the formal and informal. So two, think of the open plan formal kitchen area in terms of the overall look of the bungalow house. Keep in mind the overall design concept you have incorporated. So drawing requirement, floor plans, blow-up plans, formal and everyday kitchen. Again, the scale. In the Canvas and Google Classroom, I indicated the scale should be 1:50 at least. You can go bigger. You can use 1:40 if you want. Sectional elevation for each room. So 4 sides, therefore you have 8 elevations. Reflected ceiling plan. So this is the first time that you're required a reflected ceiling plan. Why? Because um, the lighting is important. So we want to know if you are going to put task lighting or general lighting only. Okay, and then how can you make it also? How can you design the ceiling together with all the everything, the look? List of kitchen equipment and furniture used, and interior perspective of the formal and everyday kitchen. Mixed media. I don't really know what mixed media here means, but anyway. Um, so you're expected to design also the informal kitchen, and you may use the traditional some traditional things like the pugon if you want, no? Or where you use the firewood, or if you want, it's just another stove, oven, etc. So maybe less sophisticated than the other one inside for the formal. So you have that option. So again, you can manipulate the location and size of the door and window for as long as they remain on that wall. Okay, that wall. Write your concept for the kitchen. This time I write it down. And based on the overall design concept of your bungalow. And this is due on the 16th immediately. So we will not have, uh, yeah, I think we will not have an online session on the 16th. So I'm looking at the calendar. Um, I'm supposed to give you this. Well, let's review the floor plan. So we're talking about these two things here, the kitchen and informal kitchen. And then the perspective, so I'm now going to give you a hint. It's not a hint, a suggestion. So you should, of course, this is the most obvious. If it's a 1 point, and then if it's a 2 point, just look for which one has the more interesting future. And if you want, you can do 2 perspectives in this kitchen, but the 1 point may save you time. In the informal kitchen, um, you should be somewhere here so that you don't need to see the doors, but you need to see whatever is out here. Okay. There's supposed to be a space going down, a step going down to the informal kitchen because this one is wet. So you don't want the water to go in. But then here he also made it a step down towards the living room so that the kitchen is a step higher than everything else here. Okay. Um, I'm supposed to give this on the 16th, but I was not planning to meet you on the 16th. So I'll show this to you here now. Your next homework will be about the living room and dining room and the foyer. So it's one space, open space for everything. So anyway, you will see all of this in Canvas and in Google Classroom. Different types of living, dining configuration and their design layout. You have that in a building type standards. Furniture accessory sizing needed for the living areas and dining standard and dining area. Um, it would be good if you're able to compile all of this research because you will be needing them later because it's more cumbersome to go through the thick book, and even if it's a PDF it's still considered a thick book, because you have to scroll through so many pages. But then if you already have this a few pages and you're the one who made it, so it's easier to go to look for references. And don't think that you can memorize all of this. Even I myself, I don't bother memorizing if I know that I can just access it anytime. But the important thing is that it is there when you want to access it. Okay, so this is due on September 18, so that you'll have a um, homework free weekend, Saturday, Sunday, no? At least for our class. Then you just do your homework for the other class. Okay, so up ahead, you see, is I did mention here that I'll make comments on the 16th, but then maybe I'll make those comments on the 21st, like what we before the actual lecture, um, because I'll use the time to check some other things. Okay, so the 21st will be the time that we will talk about living, dining, and foyer planning design. Okay, so I guess that's it. I'll stop sharing. Um, is there any question? Doesn't look like there are questions. Um, so I guess there's no question. So can we? Can I dismiss you already? It's so weird dismissing you in online. So if there's no question, so good luck on your research and also your planning. Okay,
Thank
so
you, sir.
okay, so sorry, it's very short. Okay, I'll stop recording